Alright, my RGB everything friends. This one is for you. Alright everybody, so PowerA has just announced and released an update to their Spectra Infinity Xbox RGB lit controller. This time it is the PowerA Advantage wired controller with Lumectra. And this is a review sample they sent out to me. It includes the 4-foot RGB lighting strip that is controlled by the controller itself. And we're going to be giving this one a thorough review, but we're going to unbox it today first. So let's dive in. Alright, so here we are. PowerA Advantage wired controller with Lumectra plus RGB LED strips. So this is an officially licensed Xbox controller. And we got that nice Xbox green line branding at the bottom there. Always a fan. But the controller is everything you would really expect from a PowerA third-party controller for Xbox. It's got remappable rear buttons. This one has a 3-way trigger lock. And then, of course, the RGB lighting zones. So this one has 4 RGB lighting zones. I believe the Spectra Infinity only had 3. And then, of course, this is the bundle pack that comes with a 4-foot RGB lighting strip, with additional 18-foot lighting strips being sold separately. But very pretty box. I really like the use of the colors and the contrast, and of course we have a nice depiction of the controller right up front in use with different lighting zones intact. And then of course the Lumectra branding here is very glossy and embossed, so really like it. On the side we get some more information about the RGB lighting as well as the additional 18-foot lighting strips. And then the other side is just some stuff in different languages, and then of course what the controller is designed for use on. But here we go. On to the back, we get a nice look at what we can get out of this controller. So dual rumble motors, headset port. This one actually has impulse triggers too, so good for all of you Forza fans. Trigger locks, mappable buttons, and then diamond texture grip on the back. And then of course the Lumectra 4-foot lighting strip. But here we go. So zone 1 is left side of the controller, zone 2 is the right, zone 3 is the left analog and face buttons, while zone 4 is the D-pad and right analog stick, so very cool. And this one actually has a couple of different lighting modes in it, so you can cycle through all the available colors, have a breathing effect, or a solid color. And then just a note about controlling the RGB lighting strip with the controller itself through the IR transmitter, and then the PowerA Gamer HQ app is compatible with this one as well. But very cool, detailed box, I really like it. So let's go ahead and get it open. So, over-enthusiastic gamer, I hope you're proud of me for the screwdriver continuing to make use in my unboxing videos. There we go. So, diving in, what do we got? Alright, so that box is now empty. Lumectra. Look at that a little bit. Alright. So this is, of course, a wired controller. It's using USB-C, so 10-foot cable. It's not braided, just a standard cable this time. That's all right. We'll set that aside. Nothing too interesting about that guy. But here we go. So nice protective cover on the controller itself. And that feels nice. All right, so excellent. So, just your typical PowerA controller when you first take a look at it, but we've got nice rotation on the thumbsticks. The LED light pipes kind of act like anti-friction rings. Like, these are really smooth to rotate. I like them. All right, D-pad is nice and rollable and is not stiff. That's fantastic. And face buttons all have a really good tactile feel. A little loud, but not too bad. This is the thing I love most about PowerA controllers, guys. I love the bumpers on these things. They feel so satisfying to press. Unfortunately, the triggers are kind of like your typical PowerA triggers. There's not a lot of resistance in them. And then, of course, they have the trigger locks. So 3-stage. So cool deal. I wish they had a little bit more resistance in them like they used to, but it's kind of whatever. Far fewer things are actually using these for precise movements these days, so whatever. But LED light pipe run the entire shell here, and then each face button and D-pad is surrounded as well as the thumbsticks. So that's our lighting zones. But moving on to the back, we have a couple of different buttons back here. So we have the mappable button for assigning commands to our 2 rear mappable buttons. I love these buttons on, like, they just line up with your hands so well. Controller, wow. Anyway, but here we go. So next we have a button for programming the internal LEDs, so the controller's built-in LEDs itself. So you can use that button in a combination with the D-pad to assign lighting effects to the controller. And then we have an external LED button here, and that's for assigning it to our external lighting strip. And then, of course, the PowerA HQ app lets you fine-tune the colors on this as well, which is new since the Spectra Infinity came out. But very nice. Diamond texturing isn't coarse. It feels really nice. Actually feels better than a typical Series X and S controller in my opinion. But for those of you wondering like how it stacks up to other PowerA controllers, like here's the Fusion Pro 3, and then here is the Advantage wired controller with Lumectra. So as you can see, very similar. This one doesn't have the typical PowerA volume mute rocker thing, I just realized. Interesting. Cool deal. But yeah, it's like fairly identical in terms of how it feels. Just plus minus a few things. So yeah, very cool. But let's check out our 4-foot Lumectra LED strip here. It's bundled separately in this little bag. And just comes wrapped in on this spool here. And so, here we go. It has the IR receiver for receiving commands from the controller. And then we also have a hand control board here for assigning colors, I believe, power as well. And then it's powered by USB. And then again, this is a 4-foot strip. So we're gonna not unspool this whole thing just yet, but let's go ahead and get all of this hooked up so we can see it in action real quick. All right, so here we go. I got the controller and the LED light strip just connected to my Series S over here real quick for demonstration purposes. And it comes with this default green lighting scheme, which is pretty nice to look at. Let me actually turn my light off here so we could get a better representation of the colors in play. So as you can see, it's got really nice and decent lighting coverage. So one of the things that I nicked in my original Spectra Infinity review is that the bottom light was just not really there. And that has been rectified in this guy. Like, this is solid lighting all the way around. And so Lumectra strip is also on, as you can see, but let's go ahead and mess with some of the built-in lighting effects. So we have the internal LED button here. So we just hold this down for a couple seconds. And you'll see that the light here starts to flash, and this will let us select different zones. So here we go. We have zone 2 selected now, which is this side of the controller. And we can use the face buttons to adjust the color of our lighting based on the color of the button. So like we have blues, oranges, reds, purples, greens, yellows. So then you press right on the D-pad to change zones. So here we go, face buttons. Let's change these over to blue. There we go. And then we go to zone 4 here, which is our D-pad and right analog stick. And then here we go, zone 1. We'll make this one also a kind of reddish. So as you can see, you can get a pretty distinct look here. Unfortunately, zone 1 and 2 seem to be overpowered by zone 3 and 4 a little bit, so it's worth noting. But you can also change the brightness by pressing up and down on the D-pad. So we can see that the intensity on this one is going in and out. And I believe that our left analog, and I believe left on our D-pad will cycle the various lighting effects. So yeah, there we go. Now it's doing the breathing effect. This is the color cycling effect. and then solid color effect. So we could do that with all of our zones. So if we could change them all over to color cycling. Yeah, there we go. So now the whole thing will just color cycle. So there we go. Color cycling controller. Very cool. And then when you're done, you can, of course, just hold down the button on the back, and it'll save the changes. And there we go. So the light will be solid once again. Now for our external Lumectra strip here, we're just going to hold down the button for the external LED. And there we go. We can see that it has now taken effect here. So we can change its color with the face buttons as well. So this is a lot more vibrant, but you can see you can cycle between different shades with the face buttons, just like on the controller itself. Lots of various combinations available, and it's very cool to see this just all working from the controller. Like, that's super intuitive. If you're familiar with using a Spectra Infinity, that is. And again, you can lower the brightness, increase the brightness, and then cycle the breathing effect, strobing effect, and color cycling effect. Or turn it off entirely. So very cool stuff. Looking forward to sharing a full review on this for all of you to check out. But that is very seamless, very well integrated, and very easy to pull off in a minimal amount of time. Like, I didn't even look at the instruction manual on how to do all this because I was already familiar with the Spectra Infinity. So it's a very intuitive setup, and for fans of RGB lighting effects, and you don't want to have to go through and change things up, like, this is very, very convenient. And I mean, the remote itself also has the color changing properties right here, as well as the lighting effects. So very easy to get things set up to your desires here. But yeah, there we go. Lumectra lighting on the new PowerA Advantage wired controller for Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, PC, and for fans of lighted effects in their controllers, this one is a lot stronger than the original Spectra Infinity that I reviewed a couple years ago. And having the external LED lighting strip is also just a really cool touch, and being able to control it seamlessly with the controller, like, that's going to be really cool. Like, I need to think of a really cool way to show this off when we do our video review here. But knowing how PowerA's Xbox controllers work, I know this one is also going to be a very solid performer. I'd be shocked if it wasn't. So again, just really looking forward to sharing the review for this guy with all of you when we get it finished. We're going to give it a couple weeks of testing and then drop that review for you. But you can check out the PowerA Lumectra lineup now. It is now available. I'll have a couple of links in the description below, but it looks really cool and really solid. We'll need to try out that PowerA HQ app, see if we could get further fine-tuned customizations on this one. But being able to do what you can with just the controller itself is also just such a nice touch, if you ask me. But thank you all for watching today's unboxing. Thank you again to PowerA for sending this out my way to review and check out. And yeah, just, well, freaking love it. Freaking love it. But we're going to call it here. Thank you so much again for watching. Be sure to hit that thumbs up, thumbs down button, depending on how much you like this video, as well as that sub button, notification bell, so you can see when new videos go live. And if you'd like to help support the channel, be sure to check out that Patreon and join button here on YouTube. Big thank you to everyone who backs this channel, helps us keep it going. Y'all are the truest champs. But until next time, my wonderful internet peeps, you all stay awesome. We'll see you back next video.